recently got the finale of Peacemaker, and I believe it's a series finale. And, a lot of people had a lot of speculation. James Gunn had been teasing that there's going to be massive cameos in the final episode, and there's going to be twists, and it's like one of his favorite things that he's ever directed. And then the episode came out, and a lot of people, including myself, were very upset with it because it just, was kind of a letdown. So we're going to talk about it and go off of this article here. This comes to us again from Geek Tyrant. It says James Gunn responds to Peacemaker finale backlash saying it's completely fair. Fans didn't like it. James Gunn has once again jumped into the conversation to defend the divisive Peacemaker Season 2 finale. After a fan on Threads asked if he had seen all the backlash to the finale and the show itself, Gunn gave a characteristically honest response, writing, "Definitely. Not everyone can love everything. I love the episode, but I understand not everybody does," which is completely fair. As you know, the Peacemaker Season 2 finale hasn't landed perfectly for everyone. In fact, a lot of fans seem to hate it, and it's sitting at a series low 6.7 out of 10 rating on IMDb. That's not good, by the way. Fans have called out the episode for its lack of major twists and for speeding through key character arcs that many hoped would be explored more deeply, but Gunn doesn't agree that it was lacking in surprises. Responding to the same wave of online complaints, he wrote, I don't get that people don't think there aren't big reveals here, including Checkmate and Salvation. As Gunn has teased for months, Season 2 of Peacemaker was designed as a prequel to the upcoming 2027 DCU film Man of Tomorrow. The finale's introduction of Salvation, an alternate dimension that Rick Flag Sr. plans to use as a refuge for Earth's metahumans, sets up a major stories thread that will pay off later in the new DC universe. In a recent Q&A, Gunn explained that you don't need to have watched Peacemaker to follow what's coming in Man of Tomorrow. Sorry, getting parched here. I'm not expecting people to go into Man of Tomorrow and know what Salvation is. You'll find out anything you need to know about metahumans disappearing through that movie. So while some fans may have found the Peacemaker finale underwhelming, Gunn clearly has a long game in mind for where the story is headed, and he liked what he did with it. Then it goes on to talk about Peace Girl. So, yeah, here's what I'll say about that. First off, I like that James Gunn is acknowledging and not just trying to play victim here on fans, because it's pretty overwhelmingly that fans didn't like the Season 2 finale, and I think maybe the series finale. I don't know. I don't think they have a plan for the third season. So that's my preface, is that I'm glad that he's acknowledging it. My other preface is I like James Gunn. I think Guardians of the Galaxy, I think that trilogy is one of the greatest trilogies ever made. I think that he's made a lot of good stuff. But I'm with the majority on this. I did not like the finale either, really at all. James Gunn, like I said in this article, for months, he'd been promising massive payoffs, and he'd been talking about massive cameos. And I don't think we got really one cameo apart from two bands in the series finale. I don't think we got one cameo. And on part of that, with the bands, they're the thing that took away from the whole show. Like, in a finale, you want to expect, especially a superhero finale in a show, you're expecting a big fight, twists and turns and where you don't know what's happening. And, maybe you think the hero's going to die or something, but we didn't get anything of what I felt was climactic at all. We had the two 90s bands or whoever they were come on, and then half the episode felt like it was like a music video or like a montage. And I guess that's who he's talking about with the spoilers, but like realistically, nobody really knows who these bands are, and so that shouldn't count as spoilers. And so you overhype this thing and you get everybody just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what's happening. But then you just introduce these two random like 90s bands that people hardly even know, and that's like your cameo. That makes hardly any sense. So I was really bummed by that. And again, I like James Gunn. I think he's a great dude. I think he's a great director. But he does tend to do this, like we mentioned earlier with The Flash. He was saying that was one of the greatest movies of all time. And just with different actors' performances, I hear him say that, like, it's his favorite actor that he's worked with. He said that multiple times with multiple actors. So I feel like he has a tendency to kind of like overhype things and get people's expectations up here and then sometimes, he's delivered a lot. He's delivered on all the Guardians movies. I mean, those are some of my favorite movies. Suicide Squad was, pretty good. And Peacemaker season 1, and 2 was like good for what it was. But I think he's shooting himself in the foot and doing a disservice by overhyping, or overpromising, under-delivering. So, yeah, I didn't like really at all the finale. There was a couple good scenes that I did really like with his friend, the girl, I can't remember her name. It was Harcourt's daughter. Or not Harcourt's daughter. Gosh darn it. I can't remember who it was. The other lady that was like the head of it. But her daughter, his friend, she gave a scene to him where she was like crying. I thought that was really good, moving. But in all, I just didn't like the finale. It felt like it was a post-credit scene. Like, it felt like it was, I don't know how long it was, 40 minutes, 40-minute like post-credit scene. Again, we didn't really get one fight, really. We had these random cameos from these random bands that people don't know. And it was just like a lot of like resolution for the final. And yeah, really did nothing to me. I kept thinking, I was sitting there, I kept thinking, okay, something's coming. And as I was checking, I would pause it. I'd say, okay, there's, 30 minutes left. There's 20 minutes left. There's 15 minutes left. There's 10 minutes left. And I kept thinking, okay, this is going to be really hard to like get some sort of twist here and then like resolve that, or even have a cliffhanger, because, we're running out of time. And we got to the end. I was like, that's it. I think I audibly said like, that's it. Like, what the heck did I just watch? So I didn't like the final. I didn't like the band montage. Them taking him to the planet Salvation or whatever. Maybe that's interesting in Man of Tomorrow, but I don't know. Didn't really do anything for that. Rick Flag Sr., I thought his motivation seemed kind of weird, and I didn't know if I was supposed to like the guy or not and what he's doing. I don't know. It just felt disorganized and felt like that all could have been like 2 post-credit scenes. So I didn't love that. Now, furthermore, on Peacemaker, I just don't like the direction that Peacemaker really went and that the DCU as a whole is going. By Superman, I didn't love Superman. I can get into more thoughts on that at a different time, because that's going to be a long conversation. But the DCU in general, and utilizing Peacemaker specifically in the DCU, I don't love. I think that Peacemaker should be an Elseworlds story or movie or show. And the main reason for that is really 2 things. It doesn't have this sense of scale. It's kind of like a lower budget. And then when you do TV shows as well, like we've seen with Disney movies, I feel like it just cheapens everything. Like, again, if you would have done, for instance, the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, if you would have done that as a movie and taken that budget that was spread across however many episodes, 8 or 10, and put that into a movie and like condensed everything down, not had some of the stupid scenes like with Leia running around and these guys not able to catch her, then I think that it does better as a movie. Same with, I don't know with necessarily Peacemaker, but I just don't like that when TV shows and movies start to commingle, because I feel like it just cheapens the movie brand. And I don't feel like Peacemaker has that sense of scale. I think it's good for what it is. And it's like, I'll admit it's like entertaining and I liked it. I liked season 1 and I liked, some things about season 2, but I don't feel like this should be, your second or third DCU project when you're trying to launch this new DCU universe, right? You have, I guess, Creature Commandos, you had Superman, and I guess this is all that they have now. And so it just doesn't feel like, when Marvel launched, they had these really big, tentpole movies coming out and they were all connecting and post-credit scene, and you're starting to realize, wait, there's a bigger story here. I just don't get that feel with this, and I'm just not excited about where it's going. My other point is Peacemaker is, let's just say, what it is. It's very explicit. It's very vulgar, and this excludes a lot of people from being able to watch it, whether it's their own moral convictions or whether it's kids that can't watch it. And so, you say that you don't have to watch Peacemaker to watch Superman, but the reality is you kind of like they do tie together. And I also just don't feel like it's necessary. Like, I don't feel that, again, like what was it, episode 2 when they had that weird scene, with all the naked people. Like that was just so not necessary. And I feel like they're going for shock value. And that to me feels like, when a comedian's not funny and they try to make a joke and it's not coming across, so then they throw out like a cuss word and to try to make that joke funny. And then it just feels like they're trying too hard. That's what it feels like to me in Peacemaker. Like, I don't like that these worlds are merging of really explicit, vulgar content with, something like Superman that's supposed to be, very uplifting and, kids are supposed to watch it. Because that kids are getting on HBO, like on their parents' accounts, and also watching this and being exposed to this. So I just don't think it's a net positive for society. Also, so that's frustrating. That's why I think it needs to be an Elseworlds thing, to where it's doing its own thing. It can be whatever it wants to be, and it's not tied into this bigger universe. So it feels like they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and James Gunn kind of forced this one to happen. And I think that they should have focused their efforts on other bigger IP like Batman, Wonder Woman. They're getting Supergirl made, and I'm actually really excited for that. So that's kind of my main thoughts with Peacemaker overall. Liked it, but I think it should be Elseworlds. Wish they wouldn't have all of the explicit content in it, and if they did, again, make it Elseworlds. And apart from that, have a larger sense of scale, which I just don't think you can do with the essence of Peacemaker, because the way it's shot and it being a TV show, it's lower budget, like per episode. And yeah, I just think the quality suffers. And then like what's happening now, people went from being really excited for the DCU after Superman to really not being excited. It's been a while since I don't know if I've ever seen people switch so fast, like on the direction of a project. Like people were amped after Superman, which I wasn't. I didn't love Superman, but then Peacemaker 2, I started to get the sense that people are like, okay, like what's going on here? And then after that last episode, people just, kind of went the complete opposite direction. So, nothing on James Gunn. I think he's a really solid director. And I think he makes great movies, and I think he's a good dude. I just don't like Peacemaker being a main part of this DCU. I just don't think it's a good call. So, anywho, that's my thoughts. Let's get into Twitter here and see what the people got to say. Always got to hear from the people, the common folk, the average Joes. Okay, you can't even spoil this finale because nothing happened. I'm crying. Now we're going to go through the thread of this. Season 2 finale. Mark Fitzgerald says season 2 finale without context. Oh, because the doors. He's just opening the door. Yeah, that kind of feels about right. Spoiler warning. That's more or less what happens to Peacemaker when he ends up on salvation at the very end. Nice guy Eddie says people need to learn narrative structure. The ultimate episode is a climax. Dude, that's a big word. The penultimate episode is a climax. Never even heard the word penultimate in my life. The finale is the denouement. Okay, dude, you're just trying to sound smart. You're just using these big words, knowing that most people aren't gonna know what they are. What I think you're trying to say is this is normal in story structure. It ain't. Not in TV structure. In movie structure, yeah, you're gonna have the climax, and then you're gonna have that final third act where it's all wrapping everything up, and you get resolution or you don't get resolution, yada yada yada. In TV show finales, no, the climax is in the final episode, and then there's a little bit of resolution usually after, or you're left on a cliffhanger. Like that happens often a lot as well. Like on Lost, that happened very often on their season, where it end on a climax, and you're just like what the frick's gonna happen? So I disagree with you on that. Why would he say this to set up disappointment? Let's see what he said. James Gunn teases major DC cameos in the final episodes of Peacemaker Season 2. We have some really big stars from the DC universe that are going to be near the end of the season. Yeah, like I guess Lex Luthor, but what episode was he? Wasn't he like halfway through the season? Again, we're just setting the expectation all the way up here, and then we landed here. Jay Foos 41 says James Gunn, like, this is the craziest thing I've ever made. Dude, not one thing made me go wow at all, to be honest. Not one cameo, not one exciting thing in this episode, nor season, to be honest. True, kind of true. The one part that made me go, that was a cool and interesting twist in this, wasn't Lex Luthor. I didn't really care about that. Was at the end of, I can't remember, but when you basically found out that like Hitler, I guess, had won the war, and that this whole society was, I guess you'd call it like Nazis. I don't know, but I thought that was really interesting because I didn't even see that coming. So I thought that was an interesting twist. Patty Ness says, y'all just lying for what? LMAO, loads of things. Oh, y'all are just lying for what? I get it. Okay. Well, let's use a little bit of punctuation and grammar there, would we? Come on. John Locke, I was scared to go on Twitter the whole time the episode was added just to find out there was nothing to be scared about. That's kind of how I felt. Checkmate CJ, this literally just felt like a pilot to the Checkmate show rather than a finale to Peacemaker, and I don't want to watch a pilot to a new show. Is there going to be a Checkmate show? Huh. Okay, not going to go through that one. It's inappropriate. Huh. Okay, season 1 was so much better, Bell. I think if it wasn't for the season 2 finale, I might have actually liked season 2 better, but the season 2 finale took it from like here to here. So, yeah, I don't know. Only thing that happened is that Chris is stranded in another dimension that Flag Senior wants to use as prison for metahumans. Literally nothing else happened. True. Again, to my point, right? That's a post-credit scene. That could have easily been a 1-minute post-credit scene. Like, easy. And then if you want to do the music videos and introduce those bands, another post-credit scene. Do it. Easy. Pop Glory, not a single cameo despite all the hype and teasing. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. So, oh heck yeah. This is is this SpongeBob guy? That's it. Oh gosh, dude. I love me a good meme gif, whatever you want to call it. The finale sucked balls and there's not going to be another season. Yeah. Yeah. It literally got worse throughout the episode. I agree. Because I just kept thinking, surely we're going to turn this around. And then once we got to like the 15-minute mark, and I'm like, they usually have like 6 minutes of credits. I was like, gosh darn it, we're not doing anything here. I don't like it. I don't like what it's doing. Surely they released the wrong episode on accident, says JJ. That's what I was thinking. You know, there's this guy on Instagram that teased. He came out a couple days ago and did this whole fake James Gunn Twitter thing where it was James Gunn saying, you all thought that was the finale. Tune in tonight for the actual season finale. And I was like, yes, okay, that makes sense. This was all a marketing gimmick. That's genius. I love it. Okay, sure, I knew that wasn't the end. Turns out that guy was just lying, and that James Gunn tweet wasn't real, and that it actually is the end. So that was kind of upsetting. All right, well, as we can see, the sentiment from the common folk is that James Gunn kind of shafted us on that final episode. He got us all hyped, all ready to go, and then literally nothing happened. Except there was a good scene between Peacemaker and his friend in the hotel room. That was good. I'll give him that. So anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts, y'all. Hey, thank you so much for watching my video. If you like that and you want to stay up to date with more movie news, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, as we'll be keeping you up to date. And if you want to watch the long form podcast version of this, go into my channel, go to the videos, and then look for a video that is, 45 minutes to an hour and a half long, and that'll be the full podcast. Thank you so much, and God bless.